Now, for this one, we've got David Krelsheim, who is a partner at Cornwalls, as our moderator. David has been practicing legal areas relevant to fintech, privacy and emerging technologies for more than 20 years. He's got a keen interest in facilitating the evolution of these legal areas in a way that is conducive to growth in the fintech industry. He's a co-lecturer and master's subject at Fintech and Payments Law at the University of Melbourne Law School. Please welcome David to the stage as our moderator. Then Lisa Wade, the CEO of Digital X, is an old mate of mine. We used to be roomies up in Sydney at Barangaroo. She, of course, is one of the gurus I always turn to, along with Caroline, I have to say, when it comes to blockchain and what's going on. Of course, they've been innovating in that Web3 space for quite a while. Lisa has multiple years of experience in managing international portfolios, both in the DeFi and TradFi. TradFi, is that like, you know, there's like traditional finance and then there's sort of, you know...
It's the boring bit.
The boring finance. There's no such thing as boring finance. It is all endlessly fascinating. Anyway, give a big hand to Lisa. She was the head of Digital and Innovation Sustainability at NAB and is one of the great advocates for the sector. Next to her, coming in from the Randwick end, is Caroline Bowler. She's the CEO, of course, of BTC Markets, a regular on ausbiz.com.au where the Startup Daily show is on. Tune in for that. Her insights and advice is always great. BTC Markets has more than 325,000 Australian clients who've traded, and this is a little bit mind-blowing, I reckon, $23 billion over the last decade. Caroline has worked in financial services since 2004. Yes, she started when she was just 5 years of age. And over her career has worked in a variety of financial institutions. This is extended to blockchain and digital asset companies since 2015. Welcome, Caroline. And finally, we've got Vincent Grimoli, who is the founder, CTO and director of Red Belly Network. He received a Future Fellowship from the Australian Research Council and leads the Concurrent Systems Research Group at the University of Sydney. With his group, he reported vulnerabilities in Ethereum and developed the Red Belly blockchain that encapsulates DBFT, the first model-checked blockchain consensus protocol. This is going to be a fascinating deep dive with a bunch of experts. You crypto guys are excited. Give them a big hand. Over to you, David.
Go crypto.
Thank you, Simon. Sorry, a bit loud. Lisa was talking about the raucous music in the building earlier today, and that brought to mind something a crypto insider said about 10 years ago about how crypto is crypto, it's punk rock, it's never going to become smooth jazz. But the saxophones and trombones have been warming up and doing more than that in the last so many years. And it's profoundly exciting that we have a fantastic panel to talk to the combination of the blockchain tech with the fin world. So everyone's been introduced. I might just throw to you, Lisa, to just tell us a bit about what is going on in your space with the focus on asset tokenization, for example.
Yeah, so we're a listed company and we reported this morning, so just read that. No, I'm joking. So I'll only talk about the Web3 part of our business. We run 3 crypto funds. We've got a Bitcoin fund, which I would call an access product. No wallet, no worries, you can invest in Bitcoin through us. We've got a wholesale crypto fund where I would say we specialise in finding the crypto opportunities and investing in the new financial rails, and the new product, which is a real-world asset tokenization fund, which we fondly call the DART, Digital Asset Reference Token, because we like the acronym, and no fart jokes, please. We just thought DART was cool. And we've got a little launch protocol, which is called the Heart Fund, which is a little test case for closing the housing deposit gap for Australians and using the shoulders of the giants of the technology to really bring a social impact product to Australia and hopefully the world to assist people into buying houses. So pretty cool. I know that I spoke a lot of Swahili, so maybe throughout the session we can unpack some of that.
Absolutely, that's terrific. And Caroline, if I could just move to you very quickly and ask you something about what you as a centralized exchange are doing in the space of utilizing maybe some of the DeFi products and bringing it to a wider market through central finance?
Thanks so much. Oops. So one of the lovely things about being the CEO of any business is that you get to spend so much time in the future. You get to spend so much time thinking and envisioning about, well, what is it going to be like in the next 6 months, 18 months, and so on. And in crypto, as you said, being punk rock, this stuff is so changeable and it's so exciting. And God bless the team at B2C Markets trying to keep up with it. For us, the future that we're living in is very clear. We can see that the infrastructure has been built. It is no longer just in proof of concept stage. The infrastructure has been built for the crypto financial services future. And so for us at BTC Markets, we're now preparing ourselves to collaborate and build financial products that are based primarily on crypto. The ecosystem that we see in traditional finance, say around blockchain, around Bloomberg, say Bloomberg data, that's now available through Forecast Labs. If you're looking at something like a reference rate that we have with LIBOR, you've now got that with the CESR, which is based out of the US. A Krakow Coin Fund have got that. That's a composite Ethereum staking rate. So you've got that baseline reference rates, so you can start building out insto funds. Those infrastructure pieces are now in place. And BTC Markets is preparing ourselves to work with those different infrastructure pieces and other partners in the ecosystem to take Australia forward. It's very clear to us in Australia, or very clear to us sitting here in Australia, that the rest of the world is moving on, and we have really got to attach a jetpack to what it is that we're doing in this area and accelerate if we have any chance of trying to keep up.
Thanks, Caroline. Speaking about the technology being there, I'd like to throw to you, if I may, Vincent, to tell us a bit about Red Belly and what you're doing before we move on.
Yep. So in few words, at Red Belly Network, we have built the layer 1 blockchain coming out of Australia from scratch. So going back to what Caroline was saying about infrastructure, I agree that the infrastructure is there. But if you look at the underlying infrastructure that you have in blockchain technologies, I don't think it's well suited for compliant asset tokenization. And that's what at Red Belly we're doing. We're trying to fix this problem. We have come up with an infrastructure, a Red Belly blockchain. We developed it in Australia. And the real goal for us is to bridge the gap between this decentralized finance, where most of the users are pseudonymous or anonymous, and bring these users to the regulated environment that is needed in order to tokenize asset. And that's why the word compliance is very important.
Where have you been all my life?
Yeah. We have been commercializing in 2021, so it's quite recent, but the research that is behind this has started in 2016. So this was a long project that was originally funded by the Australian Research Council, and when you do scientific research, it takes time before maturing.
That's fantastic. Good to hear that. Lisa, in terms of, I mean, I've looked at the details of what you do, and I know what you do from the industry. Are there any other particular case studies you'd like to just talk to us about in the finance space?
I might just riff off what Vincent was just, there's no French pronunciation for that, it's just Vincent. We were talking about getting names wrong before. Riff off that because I think there's something hugely important in what you're doing and why people like me and Caroline are so passionate about real-world asset tokenisation. There's a number of transformations that brings to investment and finance, which Citigroup call an investment revolution. And for that revolution to happen, we need the infrastructure so that we can actually bring these real-world assets offline into the online world because it streamlines investment and creates accessibility and brings forward a whole range of new products that help all of us. And one thing that's always sort of frustrated me about the Australian investors is we all think that we don't really have any money to invest, but we all have superannuation. So we all have skin in the game on a massive level. And this is what actually, this is the tool that can bring superannuation money into the space, and it's very, very important. So I think everybody sort of unpacking and understanding that is a huge leap, that if that could happen from this panel, then that would be awesome. Absolutely.
And just to take a step back, when we were preparing this session, it's very well balanced, if I may say so, and the key themes are asset tokenization and programmability, which have the result that clearly any of the complex finance functions that are done in the non-blockchain world can be translated with an amazing degree of efficiency to the blockchain world. And what's profoundly exciting is we have Vincent, who's building a blockchain. We've got Caroline, who will mediate that for the myriad users who are not in a position or don't have the appetite to directly access something like that. And Lisa, you've been a pioneer in this space. You've done so many things. I'm just wondering, from your perspective, what would you see as, you've told us about what excites you, what would you regard as your, and leaving aside issues to do with funding and potentially even regulation, is there anything else that, if you snap your fingers, you'd want that to be addressed today?
Oh, yeah, I feel as though, I love the way Caroline described it of we live in the future, and I just love everybody to be in the future with us because we are all spending so much money and eroding our investment returns through paying fees and all of the friction in finance. And I don't know if David Birch, he was here, the panel that he was on, but when you in the future, you can't differentiate between a payment and an asset transaction, and it completely transforms money and investment. And I really wish that everybody was there, but it takes all of us to build those transition products and to elevate that understanding. And I don't think anybody would be in this room if they weren't interested in looking at that. And I think that building stronger communities, and if it's the one thing I would change, it would just be that not all crypto is created equal, and the rails that we're building go beyond market crashes. They go beyond the conversations that you read in the front page of the paper. They go beyond people being in jail. And it's really this infrastructure that's really important. And I think that everybody should be downloading a wallet and trading crypto so they can understand that infrastructure. Like I got a Solana phone the other week. So cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Lisa, would you like to answer the same question about clicking your fingers?
Oh, for me? Yeah, if I could click my fingers, I would move the conversation on with reference to cryptocurrency. I think I'd probably like to get everybody to understand that digital assets is a broad church. Cryptocurrency is one piece of it, stablecoins are another, NFTs, etc., and kind of tokenized securities are another piece of digital assets, because there's such an amount of interplay. I'd also like to get rid of the narrative around crypto bros, that we've left that behind, we've all moved on. To your point about people going to jail, I noticed you looked at me when you said that, Lisa. Noted. And I'd like, so I want that cleanup to happen. I want that to be done. And so that we can get to the really nuts and bolts of how exciting and cool and awesome and amazing this is. And just like that future vision that we all have. And it's being built, it is getting there. It's just, you asked me what I wished for, and it's like when I'm reading a book, I like to go to the last couple of lines or the last couple of pages. I like to see how everything ends. And I'm kind of like, oh, for God's sake, we're not there yet.
Absolutely. Yeah. Vincent, would you?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. I wish I had this click that I could change everything. I think the reduction of cost, as Lisa was referring to, is happening. Whether you like it or not, asset tokenization is happening. There was a report in March this year saying that by 2030, the amount of tokenized securities that will be offered will reach $4 to $5 trillion, right? So it's a big number, and this is happening, whether we like it or not. I think there is an underlying issue, and maybe that relates to the crypto world that Caroline was talking to, which is the security aspects of things, right? We want to trade, we want to use tokenized securities, but we want to do that in a safe environment, right? And this is why we have to get rid of these crypto traders who are invisible, who are completely anonymous, right? And we really need to make sure that security is there. So if I could change things by the click of a button, I would say, okay, let's take all these blockchains that are completely anonymous, right? That have been used by anonymous players to trade assets, who knows where, and let's make sure that we can replace them by a technology that will track their identity, right? In a self-custodial way, of course, but would give a legal recourse to someone who is losing its assets or who got its assets stolen to go to the justice and ask for a compensation, right? So let's try to replace all this technology layer by something that is compliant with the jurisdiction.
If I may, with that one, just as a counter to that, just to be devil's advocate, I mean, I think there's a lot of the appeal around cryptocurrency as a digital asset was around the fact that there came with that anonymity. And when we talked about DeFi, I mean, there's a lot of anonymity in that. For you, when you're envisioning, particularly around tokenized securities, is it tokenized securities in particular where you're thinking on the compliance level more so than trying to bring that into the crypto world? Not to say that there shouldn't be a degree of security around your assets, but just more that devil's advocate, since so much of the libertarian aspects of cryptocurrency appeals to people. What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't restrict to securities. When I'm thinking about tokenization, it could be real estate, fractionalizing of ownership, it could be all types of commodities as well that could be tokenized. I think what is important is that if we want to protect the users, we have to provide financial services to this class of the population that can access it, right? We can talk about sophisticated investors, for example, right? We need to check that someone is entitled to use a dangerous financial product, and we cannot, we have to regulate things. And when I say identification, I think we need to make sure that there are KYC processes, even on a blockchain technology. There are processes in place such that we know the person who is trading and where the money goes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great point. And there was I tagged so many things on LinkedIn, but I tagged a really great article describing Web3, and I might go as far as to call it Web5. And it's not just one thing, it's an entire technology stack. And there's different parts of that value chain that are really important. And the data and the digital identity is the game changer for everybody in this room, because currently you do not own your data is being farmed. That is an asset that you own that other people are making money out of. And what we're talking about here is you actually being able to own your own identity, therefore your data, and therefore you become the person that can make money out of your own data. And the whole Web3 ecosystem, I'm talking about investments, that's one vertical slice of that, and there are so many others, but they all sit around you and your data, because your data is currently spread everywhere, and what we're talking about is bringing that in as something that you own.
Can I change my answer to the first one? I want that. I think I'd like people to understand the power, as you say. So going back to about, I think maybe it was 2016 or something, and I met Professor Jason Potts when he was just starting up the blockchain center for RMIT, and he went off on a riff exactly like that, talking about digital identity and about people rethinking how they view their data ownership, but also their own identity, and using blockchain as that gatekeeper that you decide who you let in, or even using zero knowledge proofs. I was talking to a guy from Day On last night exactly around that, I don't need to see or keep a copy of your driving license. I just need somebody to tell me you're over 18, and so on and so on. And so I think like that, it's like rechanging how you think about it, and having a bit more damn pride over your data, and it's mine, and I own it, and if you're going to use it, you've got to ask me and preferably pay me before you do it. So I think maybe like that, changing the mindset as well as all the other points I made.
Understand. Vince, go.
If I can jump on this point, yeah, it's a very interesting thing. And it's very interesting that you mentioned zero knowledge proof, because this is what we're working on currently, which is a highly technical subject around cryptography, but it has become a reality. So nowadays, what you can do is you can say, I'm above 18 without revealing your date of birth. And this is what you can do on our DevNet right now. You can do that. So when I say that identity is important, I'm not saying this information should be shared with the entire world, right? We need to preserve self-custody, right? And zero knowledge proof is a wonderful tool to do that. And it's available right now. It's usable and it's practical, right? 1 year ago, it was not. I can tell you that this is something that is brand new. You can identify yourself without sharing your passport, your Australian passport. You don't have to do that, right? You can share your identity, convince a product or a financial service that you're entitled to use their product, and without giving them the entire information about your credential, right? So this is something very interesting.
I think MasterCard, who are sponsors of the event, and they're a partner of ours, so I want to put that in. I think they are doing something with this as well I think it's with Optus locally, where they're trying to do that, create exactly that environment of you can confirm but not disclose. And I think that's a great way of thinking about digital identity in this new crypto finance?
I'm not completely across this particular use case, but I know that many announcements are coming. I've been skeptical a lot, and I can tell you, like the first half of 2023, there were a lot of announcements, but we couldn't test the practicality of the thing. And in July, we realized that actually this is feasible, and this is smooth, and we can use it on a decentralized platform. This is really a big thing. I think it's going to be, a lot of people will be using it.
And just one quick point following up on that. As I understand it, WebBelly, in the old distinction between permissioned and permissionless blockchains, it's permissionless, it's not permissioned. So as you said, you're just providing the realm in which identity can be shared, etc. You don't have it.
Yeah. It's not something where everyone has to KYC to access our network. So just to give you a bit of background on the platform we're building, you simply need a photo ID document and a face ID device so that you can authenticate yourself. But it's not permissioned in the sense that Red Belly Network will not cherry pick who is entitled to enter the network. Anybody who has a photo ID and can, show his face on a mobile device can enter the network. It's just like what you would call a proof of work blockchain. If you didn't solve the crypto puzzle, then your block is not valid. If you solved it, it's valid. There is no selection. Just like in Red Belly Network, there is no selection. You just have to show really your identity to enter the network.
I think the best layman's explanation I've heard is Web 1 is you look something up on the internet, you go and buy it in the shop with cash or your credit card. Web 2 is you sit on your couch and you shop online and you give your credit card and you pay for the thing, and that person can probably steal your data. Web 3 is you meet in the metaverse with your friends and you all go shopping and you pay with your credit card or maybe your stable coin or a crypto. Web 5 is you shop in the metaverse with your friends, but you have your own shopping centre, and if you want to buy something, you invite the retailer in, you say you want to purchase it, your data stays in your walled garden, and then your data never leaves that, and you make the purchase atomically, which means the asset or the handbag or the shoes or whatever it is you want to buy, you own that simultaneously at the exact same time as the money changes hands.
Thank you, that's great. I'm conscious that we've got pioneers, thought leaders here, and it would really be important to hear what you have to say, but is there anything you would like to, three of you would like to say as a final comment before we take questions?
From my point of view, I've been banging this drum a lot about the need for Australia to step up in its position around the world. We are being outpaced, and that would be really disappointing. There is great work being done here in Australia. I was talking even just with Paul Sonnen before we come on here about the work that Intersekt is doing through their Symphony platform. So it's not just all the scrappy little startups. There's a lot more, kind of more established players that are out there and that are working through it. For B2C markets, we see the future in Australia. It is through crypto financial services, crypto financial products. We're really excited about this. We want other people to come along and join us in this ecosystem locally, but we've really got to pick up the pace on this.
Yeah, I would say you should make your own mobile phone, and everybody should have a Web3 phone, because on the weekend on my Solana phone I bought Bitcoin through BTC markets on Solana, on that network, completely Web3. That I did have to transfer money out of a bank, which sucked, but I complained to Caroline because it took 30 hours. But everybody should be playing around with this, and you should be able to conceptualize, what we're talking about with giving away your identity, because it's a wallet connect. If you're connecting your wallet to something different than them connecting to your wallet, and you can start to conceptualize it. And I think everybody in Australia should be sitting on their couch on the weekend trading.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And my last word would be that we have a wallet. It's also compatible with our Wallet Connect, and the network that we have built is here. And if you think about all the possible applications that you can build on Web3, this is huge. So if you have some ideas about financial applications, then you can already build it and test it on our network that is available. That's it.
Thanks. Do we have time? I'd like to throw out for questions. Does anyone have any questions to ask of our panelists?
This is a bit like being in a beauty show where it's like, any questions from the judges? No? My hobbies include knitting.
Oh, we've got-
there we go. Experimental jazz.
That's punk rock.
Oh, yeah, look, my question was really, when we talk about the kind of the big four banks, how much is genuine enthusiasm to engage this type of asset? How much is the work solving real problems or posturing that they are part of the core club?
I might answer that given my history at NAB. So inside of banks, there is a massive recognition that there's a burning platform. I think we've moved in 2016, they couldn't see it coming. And I think all of the banks in Australia are doing genuine work, and then there are genuine challenges, and we need to speak about them because the infrastructure to get to the level of quality facing off against legacy systems is very difficult. And what really has to happen is we need to build it from the outside in, and then, which is very similar to a lot of shifts in technology, because there are genuine challenges inside the banks. But the work is genuine, and I would go as far as to say I can't think of a bank in the world that's not doing work right now.
And I think too with that, every interaction we've had with an Australian bank around building out products with blockchain has been enthusiastic, and the teams that are working on it are passionate about what they're doing. There are other issues with banking in Australia that affects our industry, but leaving that to one side, your question was about the integrity of what they're doing. I think that's very much the case, because the thing is too, like, banks are still just organizations staffed with people who likewise probably wish that they could come up here and speak as freely as we can about what they see as the vision. So yeah, I would echo a lot of exactly what you're saying.
Thanks. Anyone else?
I can do it. Caroline, you mentioned that some of the regulations in Australia needs to change. Are there any specific examples that you would like to share, that things that we could be doing better?
Oh dear.
Here we go.
I can see our colleagues from Treasury down the back of the room. I'm really sorry.
We love you.
So the issue around the regulation in Australia, for me as a cryptocurrency exchange, and I'll only talk about what I'm about, the regulations that exist are around AML KYC. So I'm regulated by AUSTRAC. But for what it is that we do in terms of the broader trading of cryptocurrency, it's not considered a financial product, and so therefore the rules do not exist. What that means is that if you are working, say, with any other financial institution, there are rules around reporting, there's rules around market surveillance, there's rules around any number of reasons to stop things like dodgy trading patterns that we can see. So even if I see a trader on my platform right now who's doing dodgy trading, I'm going, oh, that's wash trading. I have no one to report it to. I have no way of stopping anybody from doing that from a regulatory point of view. Now that's a gap. That's a gap in any market. So one of the things that BTC Markets has been very forthcoming about, as the team at Treasury know, has been on this subject, but not just here in Australia. We've also, IOSCO, who are kind of the international body that look after all exchanges, recently had a paper out that BTC Markets contributed to in response, basically echoing what I'm saying now. It doesn't need to be heavy-handed in terms of regulation. Keep it light touch, that's cool. But the point being is that there are bold people out there in crypto, and we need to protect people from the bold people. You don't need to protect people from those who are building compliant businesses. And compliance is probably a loaded term, but people... It's like that when you become a doctor and the first rule of medicine is first do no harm. And it's kind of the same principle that we've applied at BTC Markets when we've built the business, as being like, well, first of all, try to use common sense and do no harm in terms of how we approach things. But from a regulatory point of view, the fact that somebody could be doing bold things on my exchange and I have nobody to report them to, that's a big gap.
Thank you. Thanks. I think we're probably out of time, and I thought we'd have one session without necessarily going into funding, which we haven't, or the regulatory framework, which we have, but we have managed to cover the new aspects of finance and blockchain quite well, so please join me in thanking our panelists. Thank you.